Senior Report thanks Edmund Besch of Bristol Burgess Insurance Agency, 65 East Main Street, Westfield, for his generous grant to provide news to seniors. Funding is provided by a grant from New York State Senator Catherine M. Young, representing Western New York's 57th District with a local office in Olean. Funding is provided by a grant from Absolute Care of Westfield, committed to returning the favor to those who spent a lifetime caring for others. Absolute Care is located at 26 Cass Street in Westfield. Dave Cass and Rick Newell provide funding on behalf of the Lakeview Hotel and Restaurant at the Docks, located on Water Street near the lake in Mayville. Senior Report with Reed Powers thanks Westfield's Schultz Chevy for a generous grant to inform seniors of important news. Over 50 years of service to Westfield by Chevrolet, Schultz Chevy across from the school. The physicians of Jamestown Primary Care are happy to sponsor the Senior Report. From the Access Channel 5 television studio in Mayville, it's Senior Report with Reed Powers. Senior Report is broadcast live throughout northern Chautauqua County on Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. each week. Call in and share a thought, make a comment, ask a question, or simply wish someone a happy birthday on Chautauqua County's only live call-in senior program. Since 1995, Reed has been bringing viewers hundreds of interesting guests, informing the community on a variety of subjects. Here's the host of the show, Reed Powers.
And good morning. What a beautiful day we have here in Chautauqua County. The sun is beaming down. There's a little bit of fog in the hills, but the temperatures are below freezing, which is great for the deer hunters. They can track the deer on the frost now. And this is the opening day of deer hunting up here in Chautauqua County. It used to be on a Monday, and they switched that after a while because they realized that up here it's a holy day. In Chautauqua County, everybody goes deer hunting on opening day. And so any business, and even the schools started to close because all the teachers and the kids were out and the businesses had to close down because there was nobody to run the factory. So they got smart and eventually they opened up on Saturday, which means that they can probably have business as usual on Monday. We have a great guest incidentally. We have Cathy Young, our long-term state senator, who has been gracious enough to drop by, and she will answer any questions you may have. You can pose them. You've got the number. It's 753-JACK or 753-5225. Anybody calls in, we'll get $5 off over at the Lakeview, that beautiful restaurant at the foot of the hill. So anyway, lots of things going on around here. I'll tell you, it's madness. If at least the elections are over, we can stop watching the crossfire and the phony ads and all the crazy things and the attacks by each on the other. And of course, you're quite aware we've got more of the same. We've got Obama, who's going to be running the show for another 4 years. And I wanted to say, I hope we get those kids out of Afghanistan fast. What's going on over there is really evolving into a mystery, a hassle. And poor vets are getting shot up and a lot of bad stuff happening. In the meantime, I do want to, again, thank the people that called and gave us compliments on Veterans Day, and I want to say hats off to our vets who are working hard to defend our whatever we're defending over in Afghanistan. They're not quite sure how we're going to win or what we're defending, but let's hope they work it out and get our kids home safely. And of course, the big news is the financial cliff, the fact that we're going to go bankrupt and the country's basically going to dissolve come to the end of December. I have a feeling this is partly a song and dance. Eventually, they will solve this, get it worked out. They have to. It's that simple. And you'll find that your taxes go up as usual, and you'll be losing benefits, especially seniors. Lately, the seniors have been literally thrown under the bus, and we've got to let our congressmen especially know that we resent this and we are in trouble. Remember, we haven't had a reasonable COLA for the last 10 years. They have their phony federal figures, or the COLA, the core inflation. So they tell us, well, we don't see any inflation. There's no. Bernanke comes out, I don't see any inflation. There's no inflation. Well, you go down to the supermarket and find out what inflation is. Everything's jumping 25%. My insurance went up 25% for my health insurance. Everything's jumping like crazy. Motor vehicle costs in New York State doubled almost. It's becoming very difficult for a senior to live on the same amount of money that he got 10 years ago. Now, 10 years ago, you got $1. Today, because of inflation, you're getting about 47 cents, friends. You ask why seniors are complaining and having trouble and can't buy food. Hey, when you're getting 47 cents on $1 because of the lack of the real, genuine COLA, which was promised you, that's what's happening. Let Tom Reed know. He's your new congressman. He squeaked out an election by how many votes?
10,000.
10,000 votes. Excuse me.
You're contagious.
Huh?
You're contagious.
No. It's like yawning. I've got Cathy Young with me here, and every year I get a cold, usually in late October, early September, and that's it. One cold, it goes away in a week. And every year, I don't know, every other year, Cathy comes in about the same time, and she has to sit next to me, and she sits here in dread because she doesn't want to have a cold. So I don't let her kiss me. As though she would at this point. We have a lot of other things going on. Anyway, the song and dance with the cliff and all the other stuff. Lots of other things happening. I got some great news here. We have the best senior clubs in the world in this beautiful little area here. And let me talk to you about some of them. I wanted to mention a few points, and I'm going to put the cheaters on. Because my print's pretty small this time. First of all, over at, I don't know, let's see. We'll talk about Dunkirk Senior Citizens. They have a great crowd. Old school indoor lap so that they can run in the winter. Great place, great exercise programs. And then they have a gala every month, and that's sold out already. It has a great dinner. The Silver Sea, they have a dance group, the Silver Sneakers Group, and they're going to host a bake sale in December. So drop around. Get to know your senior center. If you live nearby, grab somebody and take them over there. Might want a second family. The Chautauqua County Office of the Aging will be requiring a little more space at the center. They have a section over there they use due to increased activity, and they'll be working on that soon. Now, I did want to mention that we have the Great Belt seniors who are very busy, and they tell us they had a dinner dance attended by 55 people. Now that's quite a turnout, guys. They have other things coming up. They're not going to have any exercise though on November 23rd, so don't go over for your exercise class. The last event planned in November will be on November 30th. When their representatives from the independent health group comes. Now, remember, seniors, you can switch your health insurance during short periods of time. This is the time. You have until December 7th if you want to change your health and Medigap insurance, which coincides with your Medicare. It covers that 20% that you're not covered for in the hospital and a lot of other little things, visitations, and the co-pays. You got to change by December 7th, and so everybody's after you. They want you to change to their program. I'm going to change myself, as a matter of fact. They're going to have a next meeting over there at the Lakeshore Seniors is going to be December 5th, and there's no meeting November 21st. Big bingo night, though, November 28th. You know, bingo and seniors. Sheridan Happy Seniors, who has their own song. Ellen Settle will be opening the meeting as usual. She does the job over there. She's the president. And they have new officers coming up. The president will be Settle. And, you know, once you're president, you stay there until you literally die or get thrown out for some horrible disgrace. And most of them stay on forever. Settles President, Vice President Shirley Sikorsky, Secretary Townsend, and Treasurer Logan, and they accepted everybody. They're lucky to get somebody to run for office. There's so darn many roles and various activities you have to undertake to be president and be an officer. No money. Mayville seniors, they have a great crowd over here. They have 60, 70 people show up for every meeting. It's just really great. And I wanted to say happy birthday over to life member Eleanor Cornelius, and to Marilyn Anderson, Marie Blessy, Helen Steinbach, Peter Smith, Jean Kelsey. That's the mother of Mr. Kelsey, who runs this program. Chuck Kelsey, we've been together for 20 years. Sandy Anderson and Jean announced the reservations are all closed for everything. They're very busy. When they just send a busload off somewhere, it's always great, and you can't go. They took a collection for the food pantry. Now, your seniors do a lot for the local community, and that's one of the things is they send a few bucks here and there where it's needed. Next meeting, if you want to meet the guys over at the Mayville Center, and they take people from outside the Mayville area, you know. Most seniors do. They meet at noon. December 6th, the VFW in Mayville. They're having a ham dinner. Bring a dish to pass. All right, enough. They tell me my time is up, and I've got a very important guest here who really gives you the inside dope on what's going on in our state, which is very, very important to us. And so I'm going to just move right along. We've got a guy here who shoots from the hip. He's going to tell it like it is. John Hamels. Doc, you're on.
Good morning, Reed, and good morning, Senator Young.
Good morning.
It's great to have you here again, and as always. I get to answer the phone, and she's one of the most popular guests we have here. The phone usually doesn't stop, so we'll see who calls and what's on their mind today. Well, I just wanted to announce a couple things, Reed. As you know, I'm a musician, and Bill and I are going to be out in Frewsburg. Randy, you coming out tonight? Doesn't know. Come on.
I don't know which corner.
It's the old Moore hardware store. See, now you got to come. Well, anyways, we're going to be out there at 6 o'clock at the corner coffee house and bistro from 6 to 8. We're going to be playing our music. Tomorrow, somehow I got talked into playing at the Holly Tour over in Easton Hall in Westfield. So I'll be in the corner playing some Christmas music. And then we're going to be over to the county home on Monday playing for our friends there, Joe Karras and the crew. We do Irish and American.
I've never heard of an Irish Christmas Noel.
That's true. I do a little side act of Christmas tunes, but I do pull in some of the things that are more like American folk kind of things that you think of at Christmas time. So I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to play. It's a little secret. Anyways, so I got a lot of fun music coming up this weekend. Usually I come out here and talk about something I think is important, so I'm going to tell you something that I saw this week, Reed. I don't know if any of you caught this on TV. I can't remember. I think it was yesterday morning. I don't generally watch television in the morning. I listen to music, but I just happened to be walking through the room, and we had the Today Show on out of New York City, and this really kind of got me. Most things don't bother me or catch my attention to this degree, but I don't know if you saw it or not, Reed, but there was a bunch of people sitting in the audience outside, and they had a big grandstand and all this sort of thing. And they're interviewing these people, and they had little flags. And I'm going, like, what's this all about? And they had Lee Greenwood out there, and he's singing God Bless America, and I'm watching and watching. And as they're interviewing these people one by one by one, they're talking about why they wanted to become Americans. This was a special induction of, I think it was 30 folks that came to America, went through the naturalization process, as did my grandfather did when he came in from Belgium years ago, and probably all of our ancestors for that matter. And they were talking about why it was so important for them to become American citizens. And I just stood there and I was mesmerized by this whole thing. And then they read off all the different countries that these people represented. And I think there was at least 20 different countries. And the one thing that they all said in common that they sought was freedom. And I just stood there and I'm going like, wow, we have all this stuff that we do every single day. Even the fact that I'm talking to you right now, talking about what I want to talk about, you just can't do in any other country. You just can't assume that you're going to get up in the morning and your business is going to be standing there, or that you're going to be shaken down by some mafia type organization in your country and take all your money or protection money or whatever. And these people are going on and on. The government being stable and knowing that each day this is how things are going to be when you wake up, and predictability in your lives. And they were just bursting with pride that they were going to be Americans. So I've decided that I'm going to try really hard to get in touch with that feeling that these folks did in my own life. And the only time it even comes close that I feel like that, and maybe you do this, you folks that are watching in today, is if you go on a trip, go to another country and be gone for a week or 2 or 3. When you hit that customs desk and they say, welcome home, to America, the United States, you just have this bursting feeling in your chest. I can't explain it, but anyways, thanks to the veterans that have done all they do for us over the hundreds of years to get to that point that we all have our freedoms. And this Thanksgiving, let's think about all that. Back to you, Reed.
Thank you very much. Well said. I must say we are very fortunate in many ways, although we don't have the mafia here to take all our money, but the government will take care of that. We've got Cathy Young with us, and good morning, Cathy.
Good morning.
So wonderful to see you.
Well, it's so great to be here.
Yeah, well, you have been over the years so faithful, and I just want to compliment you on your landslide election. Cathy is doing such a fabulous job that no one in her district, our district, would run against her. They said, we can't run against her. She's terrific.
Well, Reed, if you voted for me, you put me over the top.
That's one vote, right? I voted for you twice.
Oh, thank
Believe
you
it
very
or not,
much.
I really did. I had the advantage or disadvantage, where my wife has advanced Alzheimer's, but she still likes to vote, so she comes in with me, and then I help her. And I say, the only advantage you might have from a situation like this is you get to vote twice. All right, enough said. Enough said. And incidentally, I'm not breaking out any HIPAA laws, because she's been wandering around town for 10 years saying I have Alzheimer's. But it's a small town.
Well,
and that's a great thing.
but it sounds like you're going to have a great Thanksgiving, family Thanksgiving.
Oh, we are. We have everybody in the family is coming, and more people than ever before. We're going to have, I think, between 26 and 30 people, all crammed into one big room. I have a living room. We put in cross tables and everything, and then we put the kids over in the living room next to the dining room, and they have their own table. They like that. No adults bothering them. They can eat whatever they want.
Well, I'll tell you a secret. This year, Thanksgiving falls on my birthday.
Is that a fact?
Yes, that's a fact. About every 9 years or so.
So that would be on November 27th.
22nd.
November 22nd. That's right. It's coming right up, isn't it?
It is. It's this week.
Yeah, I've got 2 turkeys. We're ready to go.
And you deep fat fry those, right?
No.
I thought you did.
No. It's
Didn't
too
you
dangerous.
before?
Well, actually, I have a process. And
Okay.
anybody listening, here's a way to do a turkey if you want a super turkey. First of all, you take your turkey and you take all the stuff out and everything. Save it for a soup. You can make a great soup later. And then you put your turkey in some brine. And you can get online any brining formula. Brine and a little brown sugar and some seasonings, whatever you kind of like, and keep it cold. And I use a cooler. The turkey's so big that you're supposed to thaw them in your refrigerator. When you got 2 15-pound turkeys, you got a problem. My refrigerator's always full. So I use my cooler, and I freeze up some ice in bottles, Coke bottles, and I just drop them in to keep it cool, and let them thaw there. Then you prepare them. You put them in the brine, and I just use a little bucket, 5-gallon bucket. Put the brine in, the brown sugar, all the tasty things you like, whatever you want. It's your system. And I brine mine for about 24 hours. The minimum is 12 hours. But and the brining causes a flow of the juices, and it makes it much juicier. Then you take it out, and you prepare one more thing to make it really juicy and good. You make up herbs, herb butter. You take poultry seasoning and mix it about a little bit to the, I put in 3 teaspoons into 3 quarters of butter. And you mash it all around, cool it a little bit. And then you roll it up in plastic. When it's frozen, then you freeze it. Then you cut it into medallions. You can work your hand up, I'm sure everybody's done this on your turkey, under the skin.
Right.
And you shove these little medallions of butter and herbs under the skin, and everywhere, down around the second joint, around the thigh, and everywhere. And you pop it in the oven, and you give it 300 degrees for about 4 or 5 hours, depending on how big the turkey is. It'll give you instructions on your turkey. Take that stupid thing off that pops up, too.
We could do a cooking show next year.
We should.
I think we should.
Then you carve your turkey, and if you're real cool about this, guys, you don't get caught making a fresh turkey steaming hot to take to the table. You do it in the morning, you cut it up, and you put it in a couple of containers. And I usually separate white and dark meat. And just before you serve it, put it in the oven, get it nice and warm, bring it out, and away you go. And make your gravy early, too. I use the drippings for gravy. And you don't get caught in that aftershock, of having to go crazy just before everything's served. There's the mashed potatoes and the vegetables and the salad and the rolls and the cranberry sauce and all the other wonderful things, the stuffing. We do the stuffing outside the bird so that it's crispy and nice. And I'm carrying on. This is not a cooking show.
Maybe it should be.
You turn me on, though. you do that every year, as a matter of fact. You intentionally do that every year. You say, how's your turkey coming? We're with Cathy, our state senator, doing a wonderful job, such a great job. No one would run against her. And that is the greatest compliment.
Well,
Greatest compliment. It's terrific. Cathy, what's going on over there now? You said it's a pretty quiet time of year in the state Senate and the Assembly, right?
it is. We won't have session again until the early part of January, and that's when the governor does his State of the State address, and that usually kicks things off. I think it'll start on January 9th of 2013, and that's when we really start to get things moving in Albany. Right now, what I'm working on is making sure that any bills that I still think should be passed get reintroduced, and so we review every single bill that we have out there. I do double duty, so I took on extra responsibilities. I'm chair of the Housing, Construction, and Community Development
And
Committee.
financial. You're in the financial
I'm
committee,
on the Finance
which
Committee.
is a big one.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
And I also chair the Rural Resources Commission, which I absolutely love because it's a bipartisan commission. It's made up of members of the Senate and the Assembly, and we work on serious policy to help rural areas like ours. So it's everything from healthcare to economic development to agriculture to transportation, you name it. And we work on it, and we get input from a lot of different groups that deal with rural New York, rural America, get their input, and we come up with ways so that we can help the people who live out in the country like where we are. And it's worked extremely well. One of the areas that I actually identified over the past 2 years has been dealing with telehealth. Now, unfortunately, a couple years ago, the governor cut home care for seniors by quite a bit. And I was so concerned about that because I serve on the Health Committee, and we decided that we would identify ways to bring access to quality health care to seniors in rural areas. And we're doing it through technology now, telehealth. And I was able to put together a demonstration project, and it'll be right here in Chautauqua County, so I'm very excited about it. But there are ways that you can monitor seniors' health,
Yeah, well,
so they can stay in their homes.
We had a demonstration of it here.
Did you really?
And, yeah, they
Good.
monitored me, and they said, you have 5 minutes left.
Well, you proved them wrong then.
Yeah, I'm still here. Well, I wanted to ask your comment before I go into the question, Kalama's little tricks. I wanted to ask you, what do you think of the fact that you had mentioned this several times, we're a rural district, but they had, Cheney had made one phone call, they say, and we suddenly were in Buffalo. Nobody heard of us in Buffalo. Well, occasionally, but and what are we doing in a city, for God's sake? So they just changed that now.
They did, and what Reed is talking about, so the viewers understand, is that every 10 years we do the census, and that happens across the entire country. And based on the census figures, you have to redraw the legislative districts, not only on the state level for the Assembly and the Senate members, for the people who go to Albany to serve, but also on the federal level so that our Washington representatives are in districts that reflect the correct number of population. And so in what happened 10 years ago during the redistricting process was that Chautauqua County was actually put in with a northern district that included Erie County, Buffalo. And unfortunately, what happens when you mix very rural areas with urban areas is that the rural areas usually get left out. And so people were very excited this year because when the redistricting happened, the congressional district was put back together, and I know many of the viewers finally remember Amo Houghton, who was our congressman for many years.
Corning glass.
Dear friend of mine. Unfortunately, Amo's wife just passed away this past year. She had brain cancer, and but Amo is still involved in a lot of different issues. But when after he left, the district was not a southern tier district that included Chautauqua County anymore. Now we have the southern tier back together, so it's Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, Allegheny, Steuben, Chemung, and
rural counties, rural areas.
Counties that are very much alike, have a lot of the same needs, and so that the attention and resources and policy actually fits the entire district rather than just one part being dominant over another. And so we're very fortunate that we're back in the southern tier district. The fabric of the communities is very similar, as I said. And so now moving forward, when we have a voice in Washington, it's going to be someone who really can relate and speak for rural America, the different needs that we have, especially as far as jobs and the economy, but it's everything, as I said, just like the commission I serve on that deals with everything about rural life, whether it's healthcare, whether it's transportation, you name it. So that part is very good. Did I explain that well?
Yeah, well, you forgot to mention that part of what you're doing is you've been very active on our behalf. You personally almost passed, how many, 125 bills or something like that, I hear?
Right, I set the record in the state legislature over the past year, 2 years actually. I sponsored and passed in the Senate 125 bills, and that's actually read more than anybody else in the Assembly or the Senate.
And
so that took a little effort.
Well, I don't know how you balance all this. Because you seem to really get out to the voter. I mean, we see you all the time at various gatherings, have a chance to approach you, you're very approachable, and talk to you and express our needs, and I think that's one of the reasons no one would run against you.
Well, that's the best part of my job, because I feel very strongly that I can't represent you unless I know what's important to you, what's on your mind, and so I spend a lot of time in my communities, and I just love it. My district actually changed a little bit, and the viewers may not know this, but I do have all of Chautauqua, all of Cattaraugus, all of Allegheny, and then I have half of Livingston County, northeast, and I lost 3 of the smaller towns, but picked up 3 of the larger towns, in like Livonia, Canisius, if anyone's ever heard of Canisius.
Well, I would think that our congressmen would be trembling in their shoes, because I could see you just wiping out anybody for Congress. And I think having you in the United States Congress is probably as potent as we could get.
Now, don't get me in trouble here.
Okay, I won't say any more. And incidentally, Reed, it does come from a very poor family. He had 12 kids in his family, as I understand, and he seems like a great guy. I got a call. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Mr. Powers.
What's up?
Good morning, Senator Young.
Good morning.
I have 2 questions for you, if I may. We've been hearing in the news and on television a lot about this silly thing about the our driving license, and if you could shed some light on that. And could you give us an update about the regional high school concept I know you've been working on?
Oh, I'd be glad to do both of that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
First, license.
First, the driver's licenses. This has been a controversy that just started to emerge over the past few days, but the Department of Motor Vehicles actually has been going toward a new type of driver's license, which they say is more tamper-proof, is better, easier to defeat terrorists or even kids who want to change their age so that they can get alcohol. And so it started this controversy because actually when DMV chose the vendor, it's somebody who is not even a vendor from our country. So that's number one. And number two, people were concerned about the fact that it was the highest bid. And so it actually was $38 million more to set up this new driver's license system than the next lowest bid. So there was kind of an outcry. Governor Cuomo has pushed back very hard on that issue. Oh, and the other thing that people were concerned about was the fact that it no longer, the new driver's licenses no longer will have a color picture, it'll be a black and white picture. And some people were concerned about the fact that that seemed to be going backwards, that it's better to have the picture in color. So it started this firestorm across the state. A couple of people spoke out against it. I actually wrote a letter to the Department of Motor Vehicles Commissioner about it, just expressing my concerns about, cost, about whether this is really going to be as effective as it can be. And so the governor pushed back very hard and came out swinging against anybody who criticized the new driver's licenses and said, if you don't support the new driver's licenses, then you support terrorism, and kind of a little over-the-top rhetoric.
And the loss of your children, of course, and
of course,
your flag
everything
will be all burned, and
yes.
It's horrible.
So, this controversy is ongoing. I believe that at the end of the day, the governor will probably win this. This isn't something the legislature actually gets to vote on, because it's an administrative function under the purview of the governor, and he oversees the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Isn't it a little fishy when they pick the most expensive one, $35 million more? I mean, my God, who gets this money? It's obviously got to be a payoff somewhere.
Well, I think that it's the technology that they're saying is associated with this particular type of driver's license, and I haven't really seen it or had it explained in depth to me, but supposedly it's just harder for terrorists to be able to get false IDs, which I think with the Canadian border on New York State, that was one of the concerns that they had. So for me, the jury is still out because I want to get more information on it, but the governor has said that it's his way or the highway on this particular issue. As far as the regional high schools go, I've passed legislation a couple of times in the Senate, and recently I met with the governor's staff. We call it the second floor. If you look at the state capitol building, actually on the third floor is where the two legislative chambers are for the Senate and the State Assembly. And on the second floor is where all the governor's offices are, and the governor has his office there. So I went recently to the second floor and met with the governor's staff and said, hey, look, I think it would be great if you included the regional high school concept in your state budget proposal this year, because it's been blocked in the Assembly, even though the Assembly Education Chairwoman, Cathy Nolan, has been extremely helpful, and she was frustrated this year that she couldn't get it to move in the State Assembly. So the governor is open to ideas. He actually has had a task force that has traveled around the state to come up with ways to improve education in New York State, streamline services, that sort of thing. So they held their cards, though, pretty close to the vest, and so I'm not really sure what they're doing in the budget. And then I think that the governor got totally sidetracked because of Superstorm Sandy and all the damage that we've had downstate, and I know he's been working around the clock very hard to try to address the needs, because there are many down in New York City, Staten Island especially, places like Breezy Point. I had two friends who had their homes actually burned to the ground during Superstorm Sandy. Remember, there are 110 homes that actually were ravaged by fire.
Well, I used to live in Lindenhurst, and that was where it centered. And they were up on Montauk Highway. Most of the houses were roof high in water. And
it's just amazing.
Right where I lived along the water, around the bay, you should see the destruction.
It's heartbreaking.
It was just horrible.
Right. So they're trying to recover from that, and the governor just asked for $30 billion from the federal government to help New York State, so we'll see. Yeah,
New York State. We had the winds that came through here, up to 70 miles an hour gusts, and they knocked trees down and everything, and it ripped off part of my roof.
It did?
Yeah, the shingles. I just got a settlement from the insurance company, God bless them, who said, well, it's an old roof, but yeah, there was probably some wind damage here, and the leaks coming inside, too. And we're going to have to redo my roof.
Oh, dear, that's a shame.
Well, shingles, you know.
Well, I think it shows, too, with this storm that happened, that we have to focus on energy issues in the state. And as you know, I've been working to replace the NRG plant in Dunkirk with a natural gas-fired plant. And I would love to talk about that. Do you have to take a break?
No, there's somebody on who's waiting to talk. They want to talk to you. Good morning.
That's funny you mentioned that, because my question was about the Dunkirk power plant, and if you wanted to talk about it this morning.
Oh, I'd love to. How are you? Yes, I know. So you were right on target. You anticipated that.
Well, and also, I
Excuse me.
you have the sheets out for people to sign to help support the Dunkirk folks.
Yes, exactly. We have a petition drive that's going on right now, and it's called Power Up WNY if you want to sign it online. But we've gotten over 4,000 signatures so far, and I will be presenting those to the governor to say that we in Western New York really want this project. And I know if you live in Mayville or somewhere like that, you might say, well, why should I care about NRG? And I think every county taxpayer should care about NRG because it's the largest taxpayer.
It's 40 million or something.
Right.
It's
It's a 40 million economic impact on our region because it's actually one of the largest paying employers in the area. So that's a $20 million payroll a year. It pays about $10 million in taxes called payment in lieu of taxes, but that's money that goes to the county budget, goes to the school budget in Dunkirk, and goes to the city of Dunkirk budget. And when you lose that pilot payment, that's devastating to the taxpayers and devastating to the school kids and the city and everyone who lives in our region. And then on top of it, you know, we've been working to clean up the coal plant, and the new coal plant would have 99% reduction in emissions, air emissions. So,
You mean by going to gas?
by going to gas. Now, this is something that a private company wants to invest $700 million by building this new natural gas-fired plant. When, and I'm being facetious here, you know this, but when has anyone invested $700 million in economic development funds, private dollars, in Western New York? I don't believe that it's ever happened.
Okay, we also have a little glitch in the program you might address if you can. They tell us that in order to make this work, they've got to sell the electricity, probably downstate. They can't get it there.
Well,
They need power lines.
I commend the governor because he has put together another task force. He likes to do these task force efforts because I think it gets people in the front lines involved. But they recently came out with a report about the transmission lines, which you're talking about. And traditionally, the transmission has had kinks in it, for lack of a better word, but around Utica and around Albany, a lot of the upstate produced power has trouble getting downstate where there's, as you know, a huge market. So we've got to work out those kinks. I think that the governor is working on that. But I don't want to lose our power producers in New York State. They're major employers, they're major taxpayers, and there's a proposal out there, believe it or not, that would basically run this enormous extension cord from Canada and bring power down to New York City. And I just think that's a mistake because all of a sudden you're relying on a foreign country for power, you're losing jobs, you're losing tax base in New York State. And so we want to keep our power producers, and especially in Western New York. You know, we know in Western New York we have lagged from an economic standpoint behind other parts of the state. And if we lose our capacity to produce our own power, it'll take a long time to recover from that. So that's why we're pushing so hard, and I so appreciate because so many people have stepped up and they've passed petitions and they've actually signed the petitions online or just in person with their signature, and I truly appreciate it because we want to get the governor's attention on this and get this over the finish line. So you're right, we have to sell the power through the New York Power Authority, and I'm working to set up a meeting with the people from the Power Authority in the next week or two. We're hoping, after Thanksgiving actually, that I can get together with them to discuss what we call a purchase power agreement, because with the NRG plant we need to make sure that we have a market for the power that's produced.
Well,
so,
as you pointed out, as you called it, which is quite appropriate, we do need the extension cord to get it down there.
we do, but not the Canadian one, and that's my point. We don't want that.
No.
And you know, they're saying, well, that would cost $2 billion. We estimate that actually it would cost about $7 to $9 billion to build that extension cord. And I think one of the lessons from Superstorm Sandy is that when the power goes out, if there's a mega storm or, God forbid, a terrorism attack or something, you know, if you've got power from another country, where are they going to allocate their power first? They're going to take care of their own countrymen first, before they take care of the United States.
Okay, great. We have a phone call.
Oh, we do, yes,
Yeah. Good morning,
absolutely.
caller.
Good morning, Cathy.
Hi.
This is Linda Spalding. It's so great to see you on the show.
It's so great to hear from you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And I also wanted to thank you for the continued support that you give to the Senior Employment Program, the Senior Aid Program with the Chautauqua County Office for the Aging, and the support that you give us for our computer training. I want to tell the viewers that you always come to our graduations, or you send a representative if you can't come, and it is just a wonderful feeling to know that we've got a friend in Albany like you.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for all that you do. You bring such important services to the seniors in Chautauqua County, and I love that computer training program because I think that if you've never been exposed to a computer before, and you know this, it can be a little bit scary or overwhelming to really get to learn how to use a computer, and you bring that element into so many lives. It's wonderful.
We're very happy with it. We've trained over 700 people.
That's
You know,
phenomenal.
I've been on
Yeah.
computers for almost 25 years, quarter of a century, and they still scare me.
Well, the thing that's so unique about it, and I think that's so useful, is that they learn it at their own pace. They're not in a classroom setting. They don't have to keep up with the teacher that's explaining it or the other students. It's individualized online, and there's a peer coach there with them every moment to assist them.
I know, and I think that's great because it opens up a whole new world for people.
Yes,
where
it
they have
does.
access to the internet. Maybe they can, be able to email their family members now. And as you know, a lot of families are long distance these days, and so they can keep in touch with their family members. But it opens up a whole new world of access to information, things about health issues, for example, or all kinds of things that are useful to seniors. So I just think it's a wonderful program, and I would encourage people, if you haven't signed up for it, I think you should.
Yes, and we have a site, a training site at the Peterson Library in Pittsfield, and we've opened a new site at the Dunkirk Free Library on Central, and of course we have the Jamestown training site at the Chautauqua County Office for the Aging on 3rd Street, and then we have other sites outside of our local areas. We have 6 sites, so we're very happy with it, and thank you again for your support.
I want to mention the fact that we did our research, and in the time she has been our state senator, she has brought more money and funding and grants to Chautauqua County than any other state senator in history.
Yes,
And I want to compliment you on
and
that.
we know about the wonderful support that the seniors get at the senior centers through grants.
Yeah.
Well, I love what you do. You're just the best. You really are. And I know that anytime my office gets a call from a senior who needs some special assistance, you're one of the first organizations that we turn to. And I want to thank you for that, because it truly is remarkable what you're able to achieve. I know your budget isn't huge, but you're able to really make an impact on people's lives, and I think that's just fantastic,
Marianne
and I'm
manages-
proud of you.
Well, thank you.
Marianne does a job.
It's a great place to work, and Marianne is a terrific
Right.
She sure
department
is.
head.
Well, I understand that you're increasing a little space over at the Dunkirk Center.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's good. And the rumor that somebody told me they are moving a trailer down by the waterfront there.
I don't think so.
With the Office of Aging on it. That apparently that's not true.
No, it's not true. But there is a young man that would like to talk to you this morning.
Okay, hello, Doug Spalding.
Yes, I'm going to put him on.
Good morning, good morning.
Well, good morning.
That's not me barking, by the way.
That's your dog. You're training to do the piano, right?
That's a dog trained to train. These dogs don't play the piano. They play a lot of ball, though. I couldn't resist saying hi to, since you've got such a pretty girl there. Even if she is a politician, I couldn't resist saying hello and welcome to Chautauqua County.
Well, thank you, Doug.
I've got some wild and crazy ideas that I think Cathy might want to take to Albany with her. One of them has to do with the electricity supply that we have. Why don't we get the Army Corps of Engineers to create several Niagara Falls in each of the lakes throughout the United States, and then we use that to power that electricity to power our plants and to power our homes and to power whatever we need to power. That's one idea. The other idea is Michelle Obama's idea of grass, turning it into vegetables. Think of all of the grass that a guy has to get up and mow every Saturday, and it gets overwhelmed with. If you turn that into vegetables, you could feed the entire world. We're living in Eden and we don't know it.
Right. Well, on your first point, hydropower is a tremendous source of electricity, actually in western New York, as you know, because of Niagara Falls, and the Power Authority has a lot of power produced by Niagara Falls. So I think that, you know, if you look across the country, if there are ways to expand hydropower, I do think that's a good thing. That's a good idea. The second idea, you know, when you talk about grasses, one of the things that we're working on through the Rural Resources Commission is looking at other sources of what they call green energy, and those are things that you can actually burn with zero emissions too. So it's things like willow, which actually we produce locally around the Fredonia area, and switchgrasses. They're specialty types of grasses that a farmer could grow, and you make them into pellets.
Well, and millions and millions of acres that guys have to get up and mow every Saturday.
Right.
It could very easily be turned into food, and we could feed this starving world of ours. Anyway, those are the two things I wanted to mention. I wanted to also mention a few cliches that bug me that the politicians use. One of them is at the end of the day. It's never at the beginning of the day. It's always at the end of the day. And then it's the devil is in the details. The God is never in the details. That's another one that bugs me. And there's one other one that I can't think of right now. But
well, thank you, Doug. I'll have to watch what I say. I don't think I've said those two phrases yet today, so
you haven't said
I'll think of you.
You haven't said the devil's in the details?
No.
You haven't said...
No.
Well, good, because we hear that constantly.
Okay, well, thank you, Doug.
Well, hey, thank you, and nice to see you, Reed. Nice to talk to you. Nice to see you, Cathy.
Well, happy Thanksgiving.
Keep up the good work in Albany.
Yeah, well, you keep working away over there and get
I'm busy here in Chautauqua.
All right. Well, I'll be seeing you shortly, as soon as it warms up a little.
Take care, Linda.
Thanks a lot, Doug.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, you too.
And
Thank you.
You know, it reminds me of the old gag of Einstein. The guy gets on a bus. Maybe I told you this. And he says, "Aren't you Einstein?" He says, "Yeah, I am." He says, "Gee, let me talk to you." Einstein says, "What would you like to talk about?" And he says, "Well, I don't know. How about let's talk about transmission of space and energy." And so they chat a while, and he gets off. Another guy gets on, and they chat a bit, and Einstein says, "Well, we could talk about." He wants to talk with him, of course. We could talk about the speed of light and how it affects the future. So they discuss it for a while, and then the next guy gets on and he chats a while, and Einstein says, "What's your education level?" We'll talk. He says, "Well, I almost made it through high school." Einstein stops him and he says, "Did you get your deer?" And here it is, dear. This is opening day here.
Opening
day.
Yes.
All right. We're with Cathy Young, our state senator, and she's answering any questions that come in. And I wanted to ask you, as an insider, what happened to the two terrorists that came over here? They were in charge of counterterrorism. They came over and got training in our special camps in Washington, and then when the bus was there, or the plane was there to take them home, they disappeared.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, this is big news.
Oh, okay.
And everybody's conjecturing on where'd they go. You know, are these guys really terrorists or now just molding in?
And they were in Washington?
They went to Washington. They were invited here because they are in charge of anti-terrorism in their country. I think it was Afghanistan, actually.
Oh, okay.
And
then
they went through our camp where they were taught special tools, given them tools for this. Then they disappeared.
That's
And
not
I haven't
good.
heard it. You know, you'd think there'd be a follow-up. Where'd they go? Cathy Ann doesn't know this because she's not in Washington yet. You notice all right, now, Cathy, a couple of questions. You are really pushing for the consolidation of schools. Everybody is. The most powerful, you know who the most powerful person besides the governor is in Albany?
Who's that?
Commissioner of Education.
Yes.
He has huge power. He could actually force school districts to go together, although they'd probably uprise and bring out old Betsy, you
Right,
know.
and I don't think that's a good solution either to
No.
force.
No,
I mean,
you can't.
especially when you have a bureaucrat out of Albany who doesn't know communities to really force it. It's got to come from the community that they think it's going to be something that is going to work for them.
Good. We have a couple of calls. You want to take one here?
Absolutely.
Hey, caller, thank you for waiting.
Good morning. I missed the early part of the show, so I'm not sure. You might have touched on this already. But in the news quite a bit lately has been the truckers' rates that they're going to raise by 45%. As a consumer and as a person that, if somebody raised something I was paying by 45%, that would hurt.
Right. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the throughway tolls for trucks, right?
Right. But 45%, I mean, I can understand maybe things have to be raised a little. 45% seems to me exorbitant beyond belief.
I'm with you. When that first was proposed, I wrote a protest letter to the chairman, Howard Milstein, of the Thruway Authority, and said this is absolutely crazy, because what it does is that, well, it does a lot of things. First of all,
Makes me have to pay more for stuff, I know that.
Right, exactly. You know, it raises the cost of doing business, and that's a drag on the economy.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, if it costs more to ship goods, to transport goods to stores, what happens? The stores actually have to increase the prices to the consumers, so that actually triggers inflation. The other thing that happens is, a lot of the trucks actually try to bypass the thruway, and so they go on the secondary roads that aren't built for heavy truck traffic.
Right, to the little villages and things
Right,
like that.
exactly. So there are two things that happen from that. One is that it tears down the roads much quicker, and the local taxpayers have to pay for those repairs. Excuse me.
You're
It's
giving me a
contagious.
cold.
I know. Excuse me. The second thing that happens is that it creates dangerous truck traffic. And we had a tragedy this past year, actually. A friend of mine in the Finger Lakes had a truck hit and kill his 88-year-old aunt. And she was just trying to cross the street on Main Street in one of the small towns in the Finger Lakes, and the truck hit her, didn't even know it hit her, and took off. And so you have this dangerous situation with this additional truck traffic. So it doesn't make sense to do this. One of my colleagues just came out and said that it would make sense possibly to merge the Thruway Authority.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right, with the Department of Transportation. I think that it should be merged. One of the things that I don't like about authorities.
But they're talking about merging it, but keeping the finances separate because the DOT doesn't want to absorb what it would cost.
Right, but the thing is that with the Thruway Authority, the authorities I don't like because there's less accountability with the authorities.
It would seem to me, especially if they were not going to be accountable for the cost, they wouldn't be taking that to effect if they said, well, now we have to do something or other.
Caller,
because they're not going to be paying for it.
I'll point something else out. I've got the corporate memory. I'm a very old man, Cathy. And when they proposed the thruway and the bonding went through and everything, there was a solemn oath that they would...
The tolls would go away.
The tolls would go away after 30 years when the bonds were paid back.
Absolutely.
So what the hell's going on here?
Well, over the years, for example, back in, so my understanding, it predates me being in Albany, but for example, Governor Cuomo the First actually did some things to, they were fiscal gimmicks to balance the state budget at the time. So there's the canal system in New York State was actually moved under the Thruway Authority. My understanding that costs the Thruway about $80 million a year to run the canal system in New York State. Thank you so much. And so there have been fiscal gimmicks over the years to put unrelated Thruway costs under the authority, and I think that's wrong. I think it's time for an overhaul, quite frankly, and where we can actually consolidate, I think it makes sense because, for example, the Thruway Authority is running plows during the winter, and the Department of Transportation is running plows during the winter, and wouldn't it make sense if you just had that under one umbrella? And I think that through economy of scale, you could actually reduce the cost. So that's something that I think we should look at. But you know, to continue to raise taxes and tolls and everything else that we have to pay in New York State is the wrong direction. We have to make it more affordable to live and work and do business here so that we can grow the economy and actually help the people who live here. There are a lot of people, Reed likes to point out, on fixed incomes, seniors who need help, and to continue to increase costs is the wrong thing to do. So we need to go in the opposite direction, make it more affordable.
It's just another tax anyway, when you slap that kind of money on the freeway.
The thing is, my point was it may be necessary to have a little more money, but to put it all on the truck drivers' backs.
Right.
And
one way or another, dear, it's going to be on your back anyway.
But you know, they've increased the tolls a couple of times over the past couple of years.
Yes, they're rising astronomically.
Right, and now the Thruway Authority seems to kind of be playing games because they keep setting a meeting where they're going to discuss a toll increase, and then
I have a feeling they've had a lot of protest about this because the meeting keeps being canceled.
Exactly.
So I'm thinking maybe I'm not the only one of this opinion.
No, you know what? I've heard from a lot of the people who live in my district who are concerned about this issue, and I know that statewide, you know, some of the business groups are very concerned about it because they see what a drag it'll be on business and that it hurts the consumers with inflationary costs. So there's been a lot of opposition to this, and I think we have to, I would like to see an audit done of the Thruway Authority to really see where all the money is going. I think that would make a lot of sense. And right now there's not a lot of transparency.
Yeah, well, it looks like the state is using the Thruway as a cash cow.
Right, that they're diverting funds out.
This is not a tax, this is a usage. Yeah, sure, give me a break, it's all the same.
Right.
Kathy Young, telling it like it is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Bye-bye.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kathy. We're winding down in time here, and I did want to give you a chance to talk about the things that are most important to you. Now, you said you have got some legislation that you're really interested in passing. And you have a couple of minutes here just to bring up what you want. What do you want support for from our people in this area?
Well, one of the areas that we have to truly work on has to do with jobs and the economy. And in the Senate, we actually have a package of bills that are focused on economic growth, revitalization, growing more jobs. And one of the areas that I see that really needs work is making sure that we have not only jobs for people who live here already, but career opportunities for our kids.
Who are running away all over the country.
Exactly. You know, our biggest export from New York State right now happens to be our children, because once they graduate, I believe in many cases, they don't believe that they have a future here. They don't think that they can get a good paying job here. They don't think they can be near their families. And frankly, I don't think that a lot of the families believe that either.
Yeah, well,
and so they're encouraging the kids to leave.
And it goes hand in hand with the biggest establishment we have in New York State is our secondary education system. We educate them, we give them a good education, poof.
Right, I was just at something that was great the other night. I was down in Jamestown, and there's a dental unit. It's this big RV, and it actually brings dentistry to our elementary students because dental care is something that in many cases is lacking for children, and so they want to get the children checked because it affects their academic performance, but also to start to build good habits that they can take through their lifetime. So I was talking to the dean of the University of Buffalo Dental School, and he was telling me about how they have some of the best programs in the entire country. People come here to become dentists, and then they leave after they graduate.
And we always had dental hygienists when I was in my class, when I was a kid in school, and I just got this message, Kathy. We're out of here.
Time, I'm just, this always goes so quickly.
The last 30 seconds, go ahead.
Well, I think that with the start of the new session, we have a great opportunity coming up in January where we can continue to focus on making New York State a more affordable place to live and work and do business. And that's really what has to happen. And we've made progress, unlike Washington. In Albany, we've made progress over the past couple of years where we've had on-time budgets, they've been responsible, we've had to reduce spending in certain areas. But we got to grow the economy, and that's number one.
Thank you. Kathy Young, our venerable senator, a state senator who's really doing the job, and they couldn't find anybody in the state to run against her even.
As long as you don't, I'll be okay.
Wonderful people helping out. Chuck Kelsey, Devin Taylor, Chuck Burt, Chris Burt, Randy Burt, Chris Remaker, Jeff Zook, Don Zenz, and all these people, especially John